we was down at the pier fishing, and the craft landed probably 50 foot, 50, 100 foot from the car. Big, tall grasses, which it would have left an indentation in the grass if somebody had to come down here and look. But we went out fishing, and I was looking across at the old Coast Guard station, an old Noah ship that used to sit in there. And that's when it landed behind us. And we turned around, stood up, turned around and looked, and must have been the door that opened where all the bright lights come out of. All the blue lights reflecting across the water back this way. It looked like a patrol car or something where the lights was flashing. So we stood up, turned around, and looked, and that's when the bright light happened. And that's where they came out of the craft, and they come and picked us up then and took us back aboard. So took us aboard their craft, and then
the mechanical
things, 3 of them did. Now the one I call the female, she never came out of the craft in no time. They sent what I call the soldiers out, or ugly ones. They come out and got us. I floated inside. I was laid back on my back, kind of at a 45-degree angle. And when they got us, they grabbed us by the shoulder, right? And that's when I felt the injection. It's hard to tell the time in there because, you know, you're scared and everything going by so fast. But we was in there, then they took us back out, set us down there, and that's where it all started. I was standing there facing the river with my arms stretched out like that. And I couldn't move them. I mean, I just took a minute just to get them freed up. And that's when I heard Charlie calling me in the back. And then I kind of limbered up. But he was down on the ground. I mean, he said he lost control of his legs. And I didn't lose control because I never had no control. So anyhow, Charlie was on the ground, and he kept saying, Calvin, you okay? And that's when I turned around. Then we turned around and faced the craft, which is sitting right about here. Then the lights just disappeared. The bright light disappeared. And it picked straight up and went up a little ways, then it just disappeared like lightning. I mean, it was gone.
I am going to read this historical marker aloud because the writing on it is not quite legible. Pascagoula UFO 1973. It was the evening of October 11th, 1973 when 2 local shipyard workers went fishing. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker had picked their spot on the west bank of East Pascagoula River between the railroad and Highway 90 bridge. As dusk fell, a buzzing sound alerted them to a football-shaped craft hovering behind them. Out of the craft glided three creatures who carried them back into the space vehicle. Parker fell unconscious, and Hickson was paralyzed. Inside the craft, Hickson was examined by a robotic eye. Then both men were deposited back on the riverbank, and the spaceship shot away into the sky. The men promptly reported the encounter to Jackson County Sheriff's Department. A secretly made recording, which was legal at the time, when the men were alone, confirmed they were terrified and had no intention of deception. The next day, they were transported to Kessler Air Force Base, where they were interviewed and received a negative check for radiation. Afterwards, Hickson passed a lie detector test. As word flashed through the news, hordes of unidentified flying object investigators described and descended on Jackson County. One of these was Dr. J. Allen Hynek, professor of astronomy at Northwestern University and leading UFO expert in America. He went to Pascagoula and interviewed the men, concluding, "These men have had a very real, frightening experience. They are absolutely honest. They have had a fantastic experience." Hickson even appeared on the Dick Cavett Show, a popular late-night TV talk show, and interest in the event went worldwide over the years. Multiple magazine articles and 2 full-length books have told the story.
We were sitting on the other side of the pier with our feet, over toward the river, fishing in the river. And the fish still wasn't biting, so I told Calvin, I said, well, we might as well go home. I guess that was when I heard it. It was some kind of zipping sound. And when I turned around, in this area out here, about 40 or 50 feet out there, there was some kind of craft, it looked like it's going to come right onto the ground. But it came on down and hovered about 1.5 feet or 2 feet off of the ground. But we didn't know what to do, the river behind us and that out there not knowing what it was. So, and then before we had time to really do anything, it seemed like an opening appeared. And toward the end, it was, toward us. And the blue light, it had blue flashing lights. It was, approaching the ground, but then they went out. And when the opening appeared, some source of light came from the inside. It was just almost blinding. And of course, we could see them in the opening coming from, when it started out the craft. But
Did you think it was people coming out at first?
Well, they had. I kind of thought it was people at first, off like that. But of course, when they appeared there in front of me, it was the most shock I've ever had in my life. Well, they were shorter than me. I'd say about 5'2" or 3", and they didn't have a neck. Their head, it seemed to come directly to their shoulders, and they had something that came out to a point about where a nose would be, and on each side the ears. And I believe that they looked like they were a little longer on the ears than the nose.
But still pointed the ears.
They were still pointing, yes. But it seemed to me when they came out that doorway, or that opening, or whatever it was, then just almost instantly they were right there on us. And their arms, they had arms, and I saw the arms moving here and in the shoulders, but they had weld. I mean, their fingers were weld. They had me one on this arm like this, and on the other one, you know, they had my other arm like that. And I just seemed to lift up to the same height they were off the ground, and we just moved into the crowd. Any tables or chairs or anything in there. I'm not saying it wasn't in there because the light was almost blinding, but I didn't see any. And when they carried me inside, they seemed to just lean me back, you know. And this eye, well, I keep referring to it as an eye, and it moved up in front of me about this close. And it started right at my eyes, looking me right in the eye. And it seemed it hesitated there for a few seconds, and it just started moving over my entire body. When they brought me from the craft along this area here, and they didn't drop me, you know, they just released me back to the ground. And I fell. I don't know why my legs were weak. I don't know why it was the fright or what it was, but I fell onto the ground. And that's when I seen Calvin. He's standing right over here in this area, and he was standing facing the river with his arms outstretched like that, just like he was staring at something. I think there has to be a reason why that Calvin and me was picked.
Maybe because you could take it.
Well, it might be. I don't know. I think that they know more of what's going on down here on this earth than we think. And I don't know, they might have been, you might say, looking for somebody that could, you might say, hold up under the strain and convince people that there is another world and there's some kind of life on that world.